Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Our Home Ground. I am Brigitte. I am the host. I feel like I haven't introduced myself since like the very first episode. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just a girl who loves soccer and living in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know what else you need to know about me. And I also don't know why I felt so inclined to do that today, but here we are. I am, as always, so excited to be back. I really love doing this. I have so much fun. It's just, I don't know, something for me to do. So, this week's episode is going to be a bit of a grab bag of just like random things that are going on across women's soccer because, like I always say, or I have been saying lately, I feel like so much, there's just constantly so much going on, and I'm so happy about that. Like, I feel like I have wanted my whole life to like understand and have this much like visibility in women's sports and to be able to be so just like spread thin trying to follow all of it. I think it's so cool and I'm really excited about it. And I only try to follow soccer. Like I also try to loosely follow some of the other women's sports, but there's so much, which is so beautiful in so many ways that I can really only like peripherally follow those. I can't be invested in all of it. All of that to say, just gonna catch up on some random bits of news. These are not in any sort of chronological order. They were all announced to varying degrees of time ago. I don't even know if that's a thing. I don't know if I'm even making any sense, but that's okay. Let's just dive right into it. So, the first thing I actually do believe was announced today officially. I think there have been some rumblings about it for a while, but oh, I should say I'm recording on the 28th of April. So, if anything wild happens after, I didn't know about it. That's what I'll say. So, something that was announced this morning today is that Brighton and Hove Albion, which is a WSL side, they also clearly have like a men's side as well. They are set to open Europe's first purpose-built women's football stadium. I am so excited about this. There's only currently existing one other women's purpose-built soccer stadium, football stadium, and that is the Kansas City Current. So that's really exciting. Denver Summit have announced that they are also building one and it's hoped to be open in 2028. So that's really exciting. This football stadium that Brighton is building be a 10,000 seat venue that is planned to open for the 2030-31 season. So a little ways off, but it takes time to build a stadium. So this is exciting. And it is supposed to be directly adjacent to their current main stadium, which will become really just the men's stadium, which is Amex Stadium. So very exciting because my understanding is that Brighton doesn't actually play in Brighton. They actually play closer to London than to Brighton, which for an American, Brighton and London don't seem that far apart. Don't say that to somebody who's from England. Maybe I shouldn't even say that because they think they're relatively far apart. Anyways, that's just because of the different sizes of our countries. Anyways, but I'm so, so excited about this. It's actually going to be so cute. These two stadiums, like literally right next to each other. It still has a lot of like approval process to go through, but they have announced their intention, and I think that's really great. And cool to see a women's purpose-built stadium in Europe with a a club in England that these clubs have a lot more history than a lot of the clubs in the US. And so it's like a whole different kind of thing, I guess, to say it not very well. So I'm just really excited about it. These are not standalone teams, they're tied to men's teams, but Brighton's getting their own stadium, women's purpose-built sports stadium in Europe. It's amazing. I'm so, so excited about it. Okay, moving on to the next piece of news. There was a report that came out, I don't know, mid-April, I think. Deloitte reported that this year, global revenues from women's sports are projected to reach at least $3 billion. Yes, that was billion with a B. Revenue of $3 billion from women's sports. That's so incredible. That's projected to be up 20, at least 24% from last year and up 340% from 2022. So just 4 years ago, we are up 340% since then, which I think is just a real testament to the growth of women's sports broadly. Obviously, here we only focus on women's soccer or football, but just the growth of women's sports broadly is so exciting. And these women's sports are like feeding off of each other and are really exciting. Like for so long, people have saying that women's sports can't make it, can't last on their own. And obviously they're so wrong. They're so wrong. And this is just proof of that. And I'm really, really excited. So yeah, there's that on that. We'll talk a little bit more like money stuff towards the end when we talk about the NWSL. Okay, maybe not. Maybe that'll be like kind of soon. Anyways, but we'll talk a little bit more about the money stuff with NWSL expansion sides and all of that. And just the amount of money involved in the women's sports now is so incredible. I'm so, so excited about it. But before we get to that, the FIFA Champions Cup has been announced to be taking place in Miami, Florida in January of 2027. I personally am very excited about this because Miami, Florida is not that far away from me. Really trying to talk all of my friends into going to this with me because Arsenal are reigning champions, so why wouldn't we go? Who knows if Arsenal will be there again? They do have an opportunity to, theoretically, because this is a sort of like mini tournament where the continental slash regional champions all play. The first iteration, it was 6 teams, so it was considered like continental. There were playoffs previously to see who those final 6 teams were going to be. So only 4 teams were at the actual tournament that was held in London with the final. Wait, were all the games played at the Emirates? No. Only the final and third and fourth playoff were played at the Emirates, which is Arsenal's home stadium. So they did win the whole thing, became world champions at home. Anyways, that's not what this is about. I'm assuming it'll be the same structure that there will be play-in to determine who the top 4 teams are going to be. And then the top 4 teams will be in Miami at the end of January, which is so fun. It'll be played at Hard Rock Stadium, which is, I believe, the MLS stadium down there. So very exciting. It should be really, really fun. I can't wait to go. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. I guess maybe we could talk a little bit about how the 6 teams qualify. So Europe, the team representing Europe is the UWCL, the UEFA Women's Champions League winner, which then last year was Arsenal. So this year it's either going to be Bayern, Barcelona, Lyon, or Arsenal. It will be the North American champion. They have like the name of that tournament that they do is wild, but it's between Canada, US, and not South America. Hello? Canada, US, and Mexico. South America sends a team. Africa sends a team. Asia sends a team. Australia slash New Zealand sends a team, I think is how it happened last year. So, really excited to see what happens and who it's going to be because it'll be so fun. And hopefully, I'll get to see them in Miami and maybe I'll get to see some of you in Miami. Wouldn't that be fun? So, yeah, there's that FIFA Champions Cup. Here we go in the United States. Very, very exciting. All right, next piece of news is NWSL related. Columbus, Ohio has been announced as the next city to get an NWSL team. They will be joining the NWSL in 2028 under a name that has not yet been confirmed. The team was officially awarded there like a week ago at the most, I think. So very, very exciting. And this is where we'll get into money a little bit more because along with this announcement, it sort of brought back up the growth of the women's soccer market, I guess. The amount of money involved in women's soccer in the United States brought back some data from that because since 2020, there have been 8 expansion teams purchased. Not all of them have yet entered. There are 2, Atlanta and Columbus will be entering in 2028. But I just want to talk about how much money each of these expansion sides sort of initial investment was because it's so impressive the way that these amounts of money have just like exponentially grown. So, Angel City, who bought the franchise in 2020, was purchased for about $2 million. San Diego purchased in 2021, also about $2 million. Utah in 2023 was purchased at $2 million. But I think there was like some sort of like when the NWSL left Utah at the time that it did, because there used to be a team in Utah, they had like signed some sort of agreement that they could have like a lower buy-in if they brought it back to Utah or like something like that. So Utah in 2023 was also $2 million to get that franchise. Bay FC in 2023 that did not have a agreed upon little situation for less money. Bay FC was established for $53 million. $53 million. Boston was confirmed that same year. Also in 2023, also at $53 million, though they just joined the league this season. So that is to go from 2 million to 53 million is some sort of exponential growth that I don't do that kind of math, but so impressive. Denver, which was established in 2025, cost $110 million. So then we go from 53 to 110, more than doubling again this like already huge amount of money, which is so cool. Then Atlanta, which was announced and awarded in 2025 for 2028, cost $165 million. So again, we've gone up another ridiculous amount of money. I would like to say that I do know a little bit more about this, and Arthur Blank, the person who has put the money up for this NWSL Atlanta, actually has invested $300 million total, 165 of it for the to like purchase the franchise. 50, I think it's $50 million goes directly to the NWSL to help support moms in their like return to play, research for moms, like all of that big investment in trying to help with childcare, with all of the things to do with like moms in the league, which I'm just like so proud that that comes from somebody from the city that I'm in. I just think that's so cool. And then whatever remaining amount that is, just shy of $100 million for a brand new state-of-the-art training facility, which is quite close to where I work, I will add. I actually drove past it on my way home today, and they have broken ground. They are building the new training facility, and there are the big like things on the fences that say like NWSL 2028. Anyways, that's not what this is about. This isn't just about the Atlanta of it all, but $165 million for that franchise. And then Columbus, which was just announced in early 2026, was purchased, or the franchise cost is $205 million. That is so cool. It's so cool that it's not cheap. You can't just like buy a women's team or start a women's team if you're not investing in this sport, in these women, in this culture that we've created here in the United States. I'm so excited about it. I love it so much, and I just am so impressed by how exponentially things are growing, and really excited about all of that. Moving on, I'm back with my handwritten notes. I don't know what has come over me. Announcement of another tournament location. This has been announced for a while. I just don't think I ever addressed it. World Sevens, which you'll remember the very first iteration of this. I probably never talked about it because I wasn't doing the podcast at that time. So maybe it's gotten sprinkled in. You're like, what are you even talking about? The very first iteration of this was in May of 2025, and it was in Lisbon, in Portugal, the weekend before, or like the week before the Champions League final was there. So that was like so fun because so many people were going for the Champions League final, and they went early and went to the World Sevens. This is a professional tournament, 7v7. It is like professional women's clubs bring their teams and they play seven aside. So fun, so fast, so quick. I love it. The second iteration was in Miami. Wait, is that right? I think that's right. Fort Lauderdale. It was in Fort Lauderdale. Miami and Fort Lauderdale are like 30 miles apart. So very close to one another, but it was in Fort Lauderdale. But this year, they have announced that it is going to be in London, May 28th through the 30th, with only WSL teams. So the original iteration in Portugal had some WSL teams. Man United played, and somebody else from the WSL played, and now I can't remember. Can't remember who it was. Was it only Man United? I don't know, but like Bayern Munich played in it. Like there were teams from like all over Europe who played in it. Were there any like teams from Mexico or South America? I should have looked this up because now I don't even know what I'm talking about. Anyways, but Man United played for sure. Bayern played for sure because Fallon Joyce had so much fun in the first tournament. And I loved watching her. And then I know Bayern played in it because Tuva Hansen had that moment where she like scored the goal, and then she took her shirt off and like ran over and hugged her teammates. And then she got a yellow card from the ref, and she blew a kiss to the ref while she was getting the yellow card. Crazy behavior. That was so fun and so exciting. World Sevens is so fun. So It's in London in the last weekend of May. Very, very excited. Six clubs have been announced so far. Again, they are all WSL teams. Aston Villa, Man United, Tottenham, West Ham, Everton, and London City Lionesses are the first six announced. The FA Cup final is on May 31st, so I would imagine that Man City and Chelsea are not going to be playing in this because they're not going to risk injury, considering the FA Cup final is after this. So I would imagine they're not, but that means Arsenal could play. Anyways, I would be like shocked if they did, but that would be so fun. To see Mariana Caldente in World Sevens would just like blow my mind. So I'm excited to see who the other two clubs are going to be. They are playing at G-Tech Community Stadium in Brentford. So yeah, that I'm going to have my eye on, and I'm really, really excited about it. So that will be really fun. Moving on to the next thing. Doing like rapid fire today. But these were just like a lot of things that I've just like seen that I was like, we need to talk about these things, but they're not really enough to have like a whole like robust conversation about. So we're just kind of running through headlines today, mostly. And that's okay. It's all right. Do a little bit of a Champions League check-in. I feel like you guys might be sick of me talking about the Champions League, but I just love it so much. And like it's such a storied competition. And before I even get into the soccer of it all or the football of it all, the CBS team that they have put together for this Champions League coverage is 10 out of 10. Every time I watch this dynamic, I'm just like, this is so good. They have such a good mix of Kelly O'Hara, who played in the US for the US Women's National Team and in the NWSL, Ali Riley, who played for New Zealand, and then all over the world, NWSL, Bundesliga, in Sweden. So she has so much experience. She's played in Champions League. Jen Beattie, who brings the sort of like English, although she is Scottish. Please don't think that I'm accusing her of being English. She's not. But she played in England for so long. So she played in the WSL at Arsenal. She played at Man City. I think she played at Man United too for a stint. She's played in the Champions League with Arsenal. So, and potentially with Man City too, like back when. I'm not exactly sure. So she brings a really interesting Janelle Farias. I don't actually know how to say her name and I should know. Who just wrote a book, by the way. If you're looking for a new book, she wrote a book called Surviving Women's Soccer. But she played for, oh, I was gonna say Mexico, but I don't know if that's right. Janelle Farias is probably how you say her name. And she was a center back. She played in the Liga MX, which is the Mexican league. But now I can't like where she's from, what country she played for. I was right. She did play for Mexico. Good for me. I second guessed myself. So Janelle Farias, I bet is how you say her name. Again, I'm making it up. Is on the desk and she's lovely. And then Darian Jenkins as well, who has played all over the NWSL and is just so fun. And then the host is Hannah Cash, who's English and like significantly younger than everyone else. And it's just such a fascinating combination of people. And I love it so much. And like Kelly O'Hara and Ali Riley are like best friends. Everybody else has a great dynamic and it's just so fun. I've talked about this in previous episodes after like the first week of Champions League play. I was like, you guys, this is incredible. And it has stayed that good. Like I thought maybe they would like start really hot and then it like not stay that way. I'm so happy that that's not what happened. They are 10 out of 10 and they're always like making fun of each other. And I think what I really, really appreciate about it is I think CBS has understood what the women's sports audience wants. Like it's not overly like girly and cutesy. Like it's still intense. They're still like deep diving, analyzing the games, but they're also like poking fun at each other and we get to see like the relationships amongst the different people on the like on the desk, the way that they talk to the players. There's a really cute interaction with Jen Beattie and Leah Williamson. Because Jen obviously played at Arsenal for a long time. She and Leah are known to be very good friends. Jen had been calling the Arsenal game. She hadn't quite come back to the desk yet when Leah was like ready to talk to them. So Hannah Cash asked the first question, and then Jen like came in like as Leah was finishing the answer, and she like yells from the back. She's like, "Leah, it's Jenny!" And Leah's like, "Oh, I was waiting for you." It's just so cute. Like they're allowed to have their personalities and be who they are without having to be this like really stoic media presentation of themselves. Again, they are still very, very media trained, all of them. But it's like very fun and like they poke fun at each other's fashion or compliment each other's fashion. Like it's just so, it just feels like girlhood in the way that I want, not in a performative way. Like it feels genuine. Anyway, CBS, you've nailed it. Good work. So, now a little bit about the games, I guess. Bayern hosted Barcelona in the first Champions League semifinal, first leg, ended in a 1-1 draw, which the CBS people seemed to think that Lyon was going to like walk all, not, I'm getting ahead of myself. Seemed to think that Barcelona was going to like walk all over Bayern, which is fair because they played on match day 1 of the league phase and Bayern lost to Barcelona 7-1. Ooh, that's so tough. Not great. Didn't go well for them. But this Bayern team has looked like a completely different team since that time. They had a big January. They lost a couple of players, but the people that they brought in or got back from injury have looked great. Pernilla Harder is always a threat, especially against a team like Spain that can get caught out, to have somebody who can make those runs in behind, like Bayern did against Man United. Whew. Anyways, so I was really impressed by the way that Bayern held it down, 1-1 draw, everything left to play for. And the second leg is going to be played at Spotify Camp Nou on Sunday the 3rd of May. And I'm really, really excited about that. I'm sure, going to be another sold out Spotify Camp Nou, which is impressive. I will say that right now it's under construction, so it can only seat like 60 some odd thousand people. Normally it can seat like 90,000 people. Barcelona women have sold it out to 90,000 people before. And this is when they played Real Madrid in the quarterfinal at Spotify Camp Nou. That was the most people that had been in that stadium the entire season, men or women. And it was the first time the women had played there. Of course, everybody wants to go. Everybody wants to see Alexi Putellas and Patrick Guijarro and Mapi Leon and all of them. Ona Battier, like Eva Payor, oh, Claudia Pina. Like I do too. And I can't blame them. Barcelona is not my team, but I do love to watch them play. Okay, second game of the weekend was Arsenal hosting Lyon at the Emirates. And again, the CBS desk, everybody had like the same opinion that Lyon was gonna like crush Arsenal. There were predictions of like 3-0 to Lyon. And I was like, you guys, not my Arsenal team. That was a stressful watch, so I won't lie. And Lyon did strike first. We're up 1-0 at halftime, but Arsenal won the game 2-1. Again, not gloating too much because it is only halftime. But this was big because this was the first time that Lyon has ever lost in England. Arsenal had never beaten them at home. No English side had ever beaten them at home, which is like so impressive of Lyon, honestly. Like they are an incredible powerhouse. One thing I will say that I loved that somebody on the CBS desk said, which I think it was Darian Jenkins, and and I'm sorry if I'm attributing it to the wrong person, but it was so good. She said, Arsenal is defending their title, Lyon is defending their legacy, because Lyon has won this competition 8 times. They are the most decorated team in the Women's Champions League, but they've struggled in the past several years. Last year, they lost to Arsenal in the semifinal. The year before that, they lost in the final. And the year before that, I think they might have lost in the semifinal because I think Barcelona had beaten Wolfsburg in the final. I might have made that up. Anyways, I know Arsenal won this past one. Barcelona had won the 2 before that. Lyon has won so many, and they haven't the past 3. And now they're down 1 goal going into the second leg of the semifinal. They were down 1 goal going into the second leg of the quarterfinal as well when they played Wolfsburg. So it's giving a little bit of Arsenal last season, which I don't love because I want Arsenal to win, but really interesting. Still so much left to play for in both of these semifinals, which was really, really all I wanted from the Bayern and Barcelona one. Like, it would have been okay if Arsenal ended up like 4 goals up and it was a little bit done and dealt with, but it's not. They are up 1 goal, so they have a little bit of an advantage, but they have to go to Lyon. They're playing on Saturday, the 2nd of May, and I can't wait. It's going to be incredible. So, very excited about all the Champions League. I talked about that longer than I meant to, but I just love it. Okay. Two more things. Nope. Yes, two more things to talk about. Okay. So, WSL check in, of course. And the question on everybody's mind is the title race back on? Everyone had just assumed it was kind of done and dusted. I think City had won the title. And then they went and lost to Brighton this weekend or this past weekend. So, like, theoretically, there is a chance that the title race could be back on. And mostly that's because Arsenal still has those 2 games in hand. They're actually playing midweek against Leicester City. So, by the time the weekend comes, they will really only have 1 game in hand, except that they're not playing this weekend. So, then they'll be back to having 2 games in hand. So, anyways, so that's why Arsenal is down 11 points, but they have 4 games left to play, I guess. And Man City only have 2 games left to play. So, like, if Man City wins both games, they win the league. But if they win and then tie, and Arsenal wins all of theirs, it will come down to goal differential, which City has like a really big goal differential at the moment. But Arsenal's isn't so bad. And then theoretically, Chelsea could also still win the league. Like, there is a chance of that. But Arsenal and Man City would both have to like really have a bad go these next couple of weeks. And that seems highly unlikely. I will also add, yeah, Arsenal could theoretically win, but Brighton is one of the games that they have in hand that got moved because of a frozen pitch, I think was the problem. So the game didn't go. But Brighton does this. I feel like every spring they have a run of like 6 weeks where they're just in like crazy form and like cause chaos. And part of me loves it, especially if it gives Arsenal a chance to win the league. But they like Brighton beat Arsenal in the FA Cup. So I don't love it, but I back my girls every time. So really hopeful that Arsenal could win the league still. Like, that's crazy. I had written it off. I think I had written off that Arsenal was going to win the league in like September after the rough go that we had to start. I was just aiming for Champions League qualification. And then now we're talking maybe title contenders again. Like, crazy place to be. But it'll all just depend on what happens in these last few weeks of the season, which are so crazy. Arsenal has a game every 3 days for the next like 6 weeks or something like ridiculous. It can't be that long because but it's probably the next like 3.5 weeks or something like that. Anyways, also over the weekend, notably, Man United tied Tottenham. So Man United are for sure out of the title race and probably out of Champions League qualification contention, which is really sad. I think though we see this, like, this is sort of exactly what happened to Man City last year, where they had a pretty good Champions League, honestly. Like, they made the quarterfinals their first season in the league for United. City had been in the Champions League previously. They both made the quarterfinals, but then just injuries, all the just wear and tear on the team. They weren't quite built for it. They weren't quite able to stay healthy enough to stay competitive in the league, so they dropped out of Champions League. City obviously is back in Champions League next year, certainly if they win the league, but even potentially if they take second. What's really important about this actually is that they have they have changed the qualification of like who goes where. So previously only the English winning side, like only the team that won the English league, the WSL, qualified automatically. The other ones had to play in through the qualification process. But this year, first and second place both automatically go into the league phase, which is huge because that's like fewer games. You're guaranteed to be in the league phase, all of that. So this Chelsea Arsenal race for second place actually means a lot more this year than it did previously. I think before it was maybe like one extra game for the third place versus the second place, but it'll be like a 3 game difference and like automatic qualification to the league phase versus having to do those play-in games. So there's a lot on the line still, whether or not the title race is on. But United and Chelsea still have to play, so that'll be really interesting. I think a draw there would be best case scenario for Arsenal, although I guess anybody but Chelsea winning that. So if anything but Chelsea winning that would be best because a draw, both get 1 point, but 0 points for Chelsea and 3 for United might actually be better. And then maybe that could bring them back into Champions League contention. I don't actually know. I'm just like not making it up, but like I didn't do every math calculation that possibly could be. And then at the bottom of the table, poor Leicester City is only on 9 points in 12th place, and the 11th place team, West Ham, is on 16. Although theoretically, Leicester has a game in hand. No, Leicester does have a game in hand, and theoretically, if they won that, then they could be back in like not the relegation spot. Again, reminder that they don't actually get relegated automatically. They will be playing the team that is in third place in the WSL 2 to see who gets promoted or who goes to WSL 2. So, lot going on in the WSL. As always, this time of year is crazy. They're not known for being the Chaos League, but like, because it's not really like chaos, but it is a little. Maybe it's like the tension league. Like I just feel like there's always so much tension going on in the WSL. Whereas the NWSL, which we're going to talk about now, do a little bit of NWSL check-in, really is living up to the chaos allegations. Just this past weekend, Louisville beat Orlando. Louisville hadn't had a win yet this season. Their first win is against the Orlando Pride. Like that just is crazy. Utah beat Seattle Reign 3-0 at Seattle. Like this is craziness. I love it. So I'm not going to run down the table. We're just going to talk in number of wins because it's just so early to be really caring that much about where they're at exactly in the table. But this is more of like our team's winning kind of thing. So San Diego Wave has 5 wins. That's the most of any team. Portland Thorns have 4 wins. So they are sitting like above everyone else. Houston, Utah, Seattle, and Angel City have 3 wins. I know Angel City has a game in hand. There are a couple of other teams that have a game in hand, but now I can't remember who they are. I just know Angel City's one of them. So those 4 teams have 3 wins. Washington Spirit, Orlando, Gotham, North Carolina Courage, Bay FC, Chicago Stars, and Kansas City Current all have 2 wins, which feels crazy. Gotham, the defending champions of the NWSL playoffs, and then Kansas City Current, the league title holders, both struggling a little bit early on in the season. But again, this is Chaos League. That's how sometimes it is. But just interesting to see the way that that's gone. Denver and Louisville both have 1 win, and then Boston has 0 wins still. And I think there are some. Boston has a game in hand, though, for sure. But I think there are a lot of questions about Boston. I think there were a lot of questions about Boston before play even started of like, hello, how do they think this is going to work? And then the sort of like reality of like, hello, how do they think this is going to work? Still remain. So, last thing to add about the NWSL, Barbara Banda is leading the Golden Boot with 5 goals. She's back healthy, struggled with some injuries last year, but as of this moment, she is back healthy. And I love the NWSL. I love the chaos. I think Spirit, I also didn't say this, Spirit beat Kansas City 4-0 this weekend at Audi Field, which I don't think anybody would have expected that scoreline. So there's just chaos everywhere. It's so fun. Sorry, my eye's itching. But yeah, there's just, as always, so much going on. And it's such a beautiful thing, like I said at the beginning, to have so much going on, to be blessed with so much women's sports, women's soccer, women's football, whatever you call it, whatever sport you're watching. I assume if you're listening to this, you watch women's soccer, but there's just so much going on. So, anyways, other news, I am going to be back on another podcast this week with my friend Bart, who is president of the Atlanta Outlaws, which is the U.S. Women's National U.S. soccer supporter group. They support the men and the women. So that will come out on the Friday after this pod drops. I think maybe on May 1st is the date of that. So yeah, just get to talk so much soccer and it's so much fun. And I am working diligently to talk to some friends to align my schedule with their schedule. So fingers crossed we really will have some guests soon because you're probably sick and tired of me talking only about the Champions League because I feel like that's all I ever talk about, but I love it. Anyways, I hope everybody has a great week. Hopefully some of this was interesting. Let me know what you think, and I will catch you guys next time.